Hello guys and welcome to this new video. Today we're gonna analyze and try to understand what we can expect from tomorrow's game against PSG. We all know that tomorrow is a huge game for us because it's another European trophy on the line, but we also are very aware about the fact that we are the underdogs by a mile. So they all expect PSG to win this game comfortably, but I believe that we have some tools to use and we have some option to use. So the first thing that I want to break down is the building from the back, that in my opinion will be one of the most important part of tomorrow's game against PSG. We all know PSG, how good they are in terms of pressing with their front three and with all their effectives. They did it against Inter in the final and they completely destroyed Inter. So they are really good to not allow you to try to progress the ball from the back. So what I'm asking to myself is that we have some options and I feel like we have those. So here on the screen we will see two different setups that we saw with the Thomas Frank building from the back in these preseason games. So the first one we saw that against Bayern Munich, and for me it didn't work too much. So what we tried to do here is to try to bring centrally more players, so the attacking midfielder and the striker will drop deep to leave a little bit more this one against one on the wide areas and the wingers a little bit further up. This setup will help us a lot in terms of building from the back, trying to connect the different players and try to progress the ball like this. Okay, the problem is that when you have against a team like Bayern Munich, like for example PSG, they won't allow you to do this much. So what I saw against the Bayern Munich is that this setup really struggled to get the ball out of this situation, because every time the ball went to one side, PSG was already moving towards that side, closing every situation possible, and a lot of time we use this long pass to the striker or to the attacking midfielder to try to win the ball, but that was very unsuccessful. So every time that we played the ball here, Bayern Munich had a lot of players around and we lost the ball way too easily, keeping applying pressure to our defense, and in the end, as we know, we conceded 4 goals out of it. So this is a situation that I saw a lot against Bayern Munich, and I repeat, I don't think this worked enough, even because in terms of profile we won't have here a player like Savinho, but we would have very probably Brennan Johnson or maybe Odobert. But a lot of time when the ball was progressing on this side, the progression stopped a little bit here when this duel came to realization. So this was the problem that we had a lot of time. Also the lack of quality in the attacking mid, even if we find space for the attacking midfielder, we don't have enough quality, and a lot of time Pape Matar in that game was closed down by the Bayern Munich players. Of course, if we have here someone like Eze that can twist and turn, maybe this solution can be even better and he can get past through this one against one, and in that case this will be a huge problem for the defense. But as I said before, I don't believe that now we have the kind of quality to play this game and this type of build-up from the start against PSG. What I liked about Frank and what he did against Newcastle, this was more the setup against Newcastle. So the good thing here is that we can see that, for example, against this setup against Bayern Munich didn't work, but we have another setup, and that's the good thing about Thomas Frank. You have different type of styles, you have different type of plans for each opposition team. So I'm expecting us to play more like this from the back. Okay, so not trying too much to play this ball, because as you can see here, this type of setup is more about getting this pass immediately on the winger. Okay, we did it quite a lot of time against Newcastle. So every time that we were building from the back, not maybe every time, but the majority of it, we tried immediately to go long. And even if you lose this ball, we try to, with all these players already in an offensive position, to win the second ball and to use the superiority. priority here, because in this situation we created here a 5 against 5. Okay, so it's clear that what we want to do is to play the ball long, try to win the ball or to win the second ball, and we are already in their opposition half. I feel like this will be way more effective against PSG because of especially because of the PSG pressing that won't allow you to play very well from the back, and also because PSG is a team that is very aggressive and they will try to stay as high as possible. So in the moment that you win one time the ball here, you can play this pass on the other side, and maybe we have a situation. It's not going to be easy at all, because PSG have also physical players as centre-backs, because now they got Zabarni. I don't know if Zabarni will play with them, but between the two ways I would prefer so much if we get more direct with the ball, trying to really create this 5 against 5 and try to win the second ball and maybe hit them on the counter-attack. Another situation that we need to analyze for tomorrow's game is when we have the ball, when we are on the ball. So I don't expect us to get too much of the ball tomorrow, mainly because of PSG's style of play that is very aggressive. They don't want to let the opposition team have the hold of the ball. They want to dominate the possession. They want to press very high, so they won't allow us to get the ball easily, especially in the beginning of the game, in my opinion. But we need, and we still have options, and we need to take the option that we have as well as we can. So we know that we won't have too much the ball. At the same time, that means that PSG, with their style, they will leave all this space open. So even without a lot of possession, we can exploit this space very easily. So how you do it? Simple, with some movement in space. So this is something that can absolutely work against PSG, especially with Mohamed Kudus, that is a very fast player and a very tricky player to deal in a 1 against 1. I don't know if Nuno Mendes will be available. If Nuno Mendes will not be available, this situation and this space can be very dangerous for Mohamed Kudus, but also Richarlison can really try to attack this space. Same thing goes with Pape Matar, a player that does it very well. And same thing goes with other players in the team. Even the left winger, Brennan Johnson or Rodobert, needs to do this job very well. The only problem that I have in this, because this might sound simple, but it's not simple, because of course you won't have too many times the occasion to attack the space in behind, because they will be very good to close you down immediately. So sometimes we will have this solution. The problem that I have is that in this team we lack a center attacking midfield that have the quality of consistently putting passes first time and without too much time to think about it, with high IQ, understanding of the game, and incredible ball striking ability. I feel like, for example, Pape Matar can do that occasionally, but he's more of a runner. Pape Matar is more someone that makes this kind of run more than someone that makes that pass. So in midfield, I don't feel like in this moment we have it. Bentancur is not exactly a player like this. Palhinha is not a player like this, even if you have a good range of pass. Sarr is not a player like this. Berbal is not yet a player like this. Archie Gray played very well in preseason, but I don't feel like now he's ready to do this type of job. So we will have this chance, but I don't think that we have enough quality to do that consistently. But I still hope that we will try to exploit their weakness in behind. I feel like our best tool is this right hand side, especially Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro for me is our best passer, best long passer. He is someone that can consistently put this pass that we were talking about for the left winger, for the striker, for the center midfielder that came into this channel. So I'm sure that he is our best tool in terms of unlocking this space. But the best dynamic, and the one that I'm looking forward the most, is this one, with Kudus, because even in pre-season we saw a lot of time that when Pedro Porro have the ball, the first thing that the winger does is move towards Porro and then immediately try to attack the space, and Porro will constantly get this ball on their feet 9 times out of 10, and especially with Kudus and Porro behind him, I feel like this is our best shout to win the game, because Kudus, as I said, if Nuno Mendes is not there, but even if Nuno Mendes is there, can be a huge problem for any fullback in the world. So if we can exploit this pass with Pedro Porro that doesn't need too much time to make it, I feel like we will have a lot of chances, because of course once this pass is on, we will have a situation where Kudus can really drive and maybe we can score on a counter. I feel like on the ball we need to rely heavily on counter attacks. I don't see another way of working it. So the last situation and the most important one to analyze is when we don't have the ball, so off the ball, how and what we need to do. So I've took 3 situations that we will see when we don't have the ball. The first one is when they will try to build from the back. We know how important Vitinha, João Neves are in terms of building from the back, and I don't feel like we can allow ourselves to leave them open, because we saw that a lot of time, especially in the last season of the Champions League. But PSG is absolutely insane to get out of the first phase from the goalkeeper. So if we press very high, they can find a pass that will absolutely destroy all our structure. So what I'm trying to say is that, in my opinion, the first thing that we need to do is to shut down this move with Vitinha or with the playmaker. So it's more about leaving the center back with space to play the ball, try to press, but not too much. But not the first thing that we need to do is to not let the midfielders have the ball, to not let them combine, especially when the ball goes to the right back. They are very dangerous in 1 and 2, so they do a lot of time this 1-2, especially with Hakimi, and they're through on goal. So I feel like this is one of the toughest moments of the game. The thing that I want us to be is to be very compact, not allow this pass, so trying to really stay in this position, close down the playmaker, and try to make their life as bad as possible, because the thing that we want to do with PSG is to force them to play the ball long, because they don't have enough physicality up front. Yes, Kvaratskhelia, in my opinion, would be the toughest one to take, especially against Pedro Porro, that is less physical than him. But other than that, I feel like generally we have a good level of physicality in the back line, so we should try to force the centre back to play the ball long and not allow them to build and to use their midfielders. Of course, it's not going to be very easy, it's not going to be possible every time, but if we can do it, we can get much more the ball and we can control the game better. Of course, they will find their ways, and we need to adapt to what they do, because it's impossible to think that PSG will be shut down every time. And sometimes we will also need to really press very high, especially if we are 1-0 down. So the situations can change in the game, but the thing that I would do is try to force this long pass and especially close down João Neves, Vitinha or Fabian Ruiz. The last off-the-ball situation that we will see is when we can't stop them with the first press, so they will inevitably get into our final third, and we need to play in a low block. That's where against Bayern Munich the problems came, because we really struggled to get out of the situation. We had too many players congested into our final third, and we didn't have the quality to really try to move and to really try to move on a counter-attack. So how can we solve this? Of course, we will defend in the low block, because PSG is very good, and it's also something that we need to learn to do. The first thing is a lot of communication in the box, especially between the defensive midfielder, the center midfielder. Against Bayern Munich, sometimes I don't think that they communicated well, especially because Palhinha was a new player, so we left too many times the center midfielder, Goretzka in that case, free alone in the middle. But I feel like with some communication we can improve that. The problem that I have is that against Bayern Munich, when we recovered the ball, we didn't had any option to really hit them on the counter. A lot of time we tried to play the ball to Kudus that was already closed. So the thing that I want us to do is different. Is more or less the thing that we did against Newcastle. So for example, let's say that the situation will get on the right side with Dembele. So the left winger, of course, needs to drop deep to try to make 2 against 1, because we know that Dembele in a 1 against 1, you don't want that too much. So let's say that we win the ball right here. Against Bayern Munich, the center forward was way too deep, in my opinion. The thing that I would love to do by the center forward is to stay a little bit higher, because like this, we have the option of the center forward, but also I need the other winger that is not involved in the defensive phase on one side to stay high on the pitch, really high on the pitch. So we did it against Newcastle. At some point we recovered the ball, very good combination, and it was on the right side, but Porro played a pass immediately, first time hit on into the space, and we were through on goal with Heung-min Son in that case. So that's what I want to see. The problem is that on the left side we don't have someone that is able to do that, like Spence. So I'm expecting this a lot from Pedro Porro. So when we will defend in this situation, so Kvaratskhelia is a huge problem, so Kudus will need to do a lot of defensive job. If we recover the ball, for example, and if we can have a very good combination, on the other side the left winger needs already to be high, and the center forward needs to be always available and always attracting away another center back. In this case, we can hit this ball long and we can go on a counter very easily. A lot of our game will be on counter, so that's why off the ball we need to be very, very good defensively, and we need to stay patient, because as we can see right here with Pedro Porro especially, we just need one pass and we will be through on goal. So in the end, this is a little bit what I think that we should do against PSG in order to try to have a chance to win the game. I believe that we can win the game. It's impossible that the game will be easy, but I'm gonna predict a 2-1 win in the last second for Tottenham Hotspur. I will be in Udine to watch the game, so let's hope that we win another European trophy. So if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, or make a comment. I will really appreciate all the kind of support that you give me on this channel. So thank you so much, and see you the next time. Goodbye.